Since Johnny gave me the gavel, I'm going to call on Senator Sullivan first, followed immediately by Senator Tillis, regardless if a Democrat comes in or not, simply because we can talk about the metrics of how many veterans are in each one of these guys' states. So, Senator Sullivan,
well,
you have the floor.
Mr. Chairman, and I appreciate that, and I'm glad you previewed a little bit of my comments. I do want to just do a quick shout out and ask for my fellow veterans from Alaska. If you're here, can you please stand? How about a round of applause for them? All right, so there we go. Dave and Bill, Walter, Todd, Charlotte, Liz, thank you for being here. You know, you're right, we all brag about our states, but we're all doing it for the right reason because we're so proud of all of you. I mean, you know, there's a lot of talk about the 1% in America. I like to say this is the actual less than 1% of America, the less than 1% who have the courage to raise their right hand to support and defend the Constitution and possibly die for their country. So how about a round of applause for the real 1%? And we also, you know, like to brag a little bit about our states as it relates to veterans. My state, the great state of Alaska, has more vets per capita than any state in the country. Now, Senator Tillis and I, he's from North Carolina, we joke about some metrics, and I'm sure he'll have some counter punches. So I just won't raise the fact that Alaska is 14 times the size of North Carolina. I'm not going to raise that. It's a little embarrassing, so I won't raise it here in this committee. I also want to just mention, you know, I've been a member of this committee my whole time in the Senate, but I had always thought that the rules did not allow you to join the VFW if you were still serving in the military. In the reserves, I'm still in the reserves. I'm a colonel in the Marine Corps Reserves. But Bill, that's right, for the Marines here, hoorah. But Bill Udiscus, one of the great former commanders in Alaska, has been a good advocate and has convinced me that the rules don't say that if you qualify to be a VFW member, you can join even if you're still serving in the reserve. So I want to say proudly to Bill and others from Alaska, this is my first hearing as a full-fledged member of the VFW. It's, there's my card. Post 9785 in Eagle River, Alaska. So I'm proud to join this great organization finally. So thank you, Bill, for your strong advocacy. I would say your incredibly relentless advocacy. So, Commander, I actually wanted to ask a serious question. In your testimony, you mentioned some of the reforms in the 2019 NDAA. I also serve with Senator Tillis on the Armed Services Committee that drafts that bill that talks about some of the transition assistance programs. And I always think it's an area where we can do better. You may have seen, I'm sure you all did, I just came from a hearing on the Commerce Committee that talked about the maritime industry. You may have seen yesterday, the President issued an executive order to make it easier to get our veterans into the maritime industry because our veterans have so many skills that they learn in the military and they can take to private industry. And now with this very low unemployment rate in the country, our companies need the great opportunities that they have to hire veterans more efficiently, more quickly. What are some of the things that you can recommend to either this committee or the Armed Services Committee that we can make improvements on that? I'm assuming you all support what the President did with his executive order in the last couple days with regard to the maritime industry. But what more can we do? Because I think we can be doing a lot better in this area. And your organization is the perfect one to provide us recommendations for that.
Well, three of the key points that we look at in that area. One is reopen transition assistance in the community program for veterans. So recently discharged veterans can revisit those TAP classes.
Right now they don't have the opportunity
correct.
to go back on base and do that?
Correct.
Okay.
Provide grants. We can provide grants for organizations that connect recently transitioned veterans with meaningful jobs and conduct oversight to ensure that DOD is doing its job to help these service members prepare for life after they get out of the military.
And do you think the TAPS programs at most bases is efficient, or it's just kind of a check-the-box thing that members want to get through and then move on?
Well, I think that in a lot of cases, I just recently returned from Europe visiting some of our troops there, and I think awareness of what those classes actually have to offer, and I don't know if the answer is to provide more outreach to them, to let them know, you know, this is important, and this is what you have available to you to make that transition.
Well, we want to work with you on that. I'll tell you one other area that I think is exciting. A lot of the unions, like in Alaska, a lot of the building trades, you know, the operators, the laborers, steel workers, these are all organizations that have a lot of vets. They want to bring our vets in quickly because they're such good workers. So we look forward to working with you on that issue. It's an important issue. We're making some progress, but I think we can do better. So thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Tillis?
Well, as a senator from one of the states that was a part of the original colonies, I'm glad that we did the hard work to lay the groundwork for Alaska to become a state. This whole banter back and forth between my buddy Senator Sullivan and I came from a discussion where Senator Sullivan is a fierce advocate for Alaska. That's why I like him so much. But he made a comment that he has a higher population per capita of veterans than any other state in the nation.
That's true.
And I told Dan, I got more veterans than you got people, which is also true.
That's true, too.
But the reason I say that, I mean, on the one hand, it's just fun to banter between two buddies, but on the other hand, it also demonstrates the diverse nature of the challenge that we have.